All right, hello and welcome everyone to the Devstream 122 breakdown. So, this Devstream contains a ton of information, so this is probably going to be a little bit of a long breakdown. With that being said, a lot of the things we're going to talk about are in vague terms in terms of when we're getting these things. Terms such as winter, spring, summer, and like this year in general, I guess. So, probably temper your expectations. We're not getting all of this like next month or something crazy like that, especially not if you're on console. With that, let's talk about the 3 new Warframes that are in development. Wait, 2 new Warframes that are in development. We know there is a third, but we don't know anything about it, even its name, so we're pretty much just going to be talking about the 2. One of which we've heard about before, and that is Wisp, who we only really know that about besides how he looks. And the other is Hildryn, who appears to be quite a bit further along. We have them both here, with Wisp on the left and Hildryn on the right. And Hildryn is basically like a female rhino-looking Warframe. We got to see some of her animations that she's going to have in-game. She's a very kind of like Zarya, like bodybuilder type aesthetic, and that's pretty cool. And the interesting thing about her is that she does not use energy. She uses her shields as energy, which changes how you have to build a Warframe pretty extensively, because energy is really important to how we build pretty much all of our Warframes. And whenever you have to use shields instead, it makes certain things that have nearly no value right now, such as arcanes like Arcane Aegis, and makes them extremely good if the Warframe it goes on is extremely good. So let's hope Hildryn is quite powerful. The only other thing we really know about her is that she's going to have a lot of team buffing type stuff. And that's really vague. So we'll see how she shakes out whenever she is like properly done and in the game. And then she's coming with a signature Arcwing weapon that we didn't really get any real information about besides just how it looks. And then besides that, Wisp will be after Hildryn as far as we know. With that, let's talk about some of the just kind of general active development things. And this is going to be a lot of different stuff. Like, near future is a term to use, but it depends on what you consider to be near, as this is mostly going to be likely in a couple months. So yeah. First and foremost, we have the Exploiter Orb. So this is going to be a Valis event / expansion, and it's interesting to me that this is going to be an event, because that means it might be kind of the equivalent of Plague Star for Valis, where we can only fight the Exploiter Orb when the event is going on, which is both interesting and maybe a little disheartening to people that just want to be able to fight the bosses. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with the orb to make it more difficult, because the current orb is like very, very well optimized. You can solo it in under 5 minutes as it stands right now pretty damn easily as long as you're geared, but you have to be really geared and optimized in a lot of ways that I don't think a ton of players are. So do they make the new content harder only for people that are like me or the other people that are running like the orb in a very optimized way? Or do they make the content, you know, like completable for a normal player? And that's a tough call to make, so we'll see what they choose. And it'll be kind of interesting to see where they go with it. Besides that, we have the Jupiter Remaster, which obviously we heard about quite a bit last year, but we know that it's coming with a thing called Amalgams, which is going to be a new game mode and enemy type expansion, and we have a teaser image for that, which, as speculation on my part, I think this is going to be Corpus infused with sentient stuff to make them hardier. So basically, it'll be the Corpus becoming the Grineer, because sentients have armor and more damage reduction stuff. So that's what I think will happen. But yeah, like considering all of, like the teaser stuff where, hey, the Corpus are looking at sentient things, and hey, this Orb Mother has sentient shields, that appears to be exactly the direction that this will go in. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe the Corpus become the difficult faction to deal with like EHP wise. But yeah, that'll be different, and the way they go about it will matter quite a bit with how farmable Corpus are in the future, I think. Besides that, we got a teaser for a thing called the Wolf of Saturn, and this is going to be kind of alerts and challenges 2.0. So basically, this is going to be a kind of daily thing where you do challenges and you get points, and then you get rewards for those points. Does this sound familiar? Because we have This. This is the teaser image. This a battle pass. Look at that. Look at that battle pass ass battle pass right there. That's what this is. Like, there's gonna be story tied to this, as they've said, but that's a battle pass. If I've seen some battle pass in my day, that's a battle pass. Like, straight up, like, it's DE is going to try that kind of thing, and that's interesting that they're going to go that direction. I think it will be really interesting to see if we ever see another one of these after they try it once. Because if the thing that I've said for a while, because another game that I play a lot on Twitch, Dauntless, recently did a battle pass, which they called the Hunt Pass, and it went really well, and that was awesome, and there was a ton of content. It was very worth like the time to invest in it and get that stuff done, because there was a lot of things that you wanted to unlock in there. For Warframe, if this is going to be a battle pass type situation, the things in it that you earn have to be worthwhile, and they can't just be the same pretty like every single time that they do a new one. Like, there has to be unique content in there, and that's a lot of work for DE to do. So if this really is going to be exactly what it looks like, which is a battle pass, it'll be interesting to see if DE can actually give it enough content to do it for a long period of time, because kind of continually running one thing, such as the way Swordies used to be with their seasons, has proven difficult for DE in the past. So I'm just really curious to see how this goes, basically. I don't have anything against battle passes. I think that they can be implemented very well, like they were in Dauntless, and there's potential for it in Warframe. And I'm just curious to see what they do here, because there's going to be some story stuff as well with some new characters and things and all kinds of cool stuff. So anyway, moving on to our kind of future content. This is stuff that is way down the line. And there's one of these things that was in near future that I moved to future for realism purposes, and that is New War. So New War is going to be our big cinematic quest for this year. We already knew that. It was announced last year. We know that the New War is coming. Probably going to be extremely cool. But to call it near future, I think is maybe a little much. Because more likely than not, we're not going to see this for like 6 months. Like, every time that we're going to get like a cinematic quest, it always gets delayed months. Like, that's just consistent now. Like, it's just consistently like, hey, cinematic quest is going to be more than they think. Like, that's just how it works. So it's probably going to be even after the next thing we're going to talk about, which is Warframe Empyrion, which is basically what Railjack has been renamed to. And this is going to be like trying to bring the game all kind of together under one banner and give you a new way to play the game as a whole. That is a huge claim to make, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. Where Railjack goes, I think, is probably the most interesting thing that is going to happen all throughout this entire year, and it's probably going to be the most impactful thing DE has done since, like, Parkour 2.0. It's going to be a lot. So, yeah, that's just interesting. We don't really know a whole lot about, like, what that's going to be. We know there's going to be, like, a bunch of new fighter ships for each faction and, like, all this other content that's coming in. But like what that actually means for the game as a whole, we won't know until it releases, basically. Besides that, we got a small thing. This is like after New War, after Empyrion, which is the Plains of Deviri, which is a new faction that is going to be after those other two things. So we'll likely get some hints about them in the New War. But we have one image of them, which is here, not that. We'll talk about that in a second. Don't worry about that. It's, yeah, nope. This guy. Sorry about that. This guy. These weird little guys. The only thing that I can really take away from this is that the guy sitting on top of the thing looks kind of Ballas-esque, and the guy that is behind him carrying his cloak kind of looks like a tiny baby Sargus Ruck. And that's pretty much all I got. We'll see how these weirdo guys get introduced into the game. But they look fun, honestly. Like, they just look like I'm not gonna lie. The first thing I thought whenever I looked at these guys is that they're like some Goof Troop Orokin that are still around. But that sounds like a real fun time overall. So I kind of hope that's what they are. Anyway, moving on to ongoing reworks and upgrades and things in general. We've got Melee 3.0, which basically they just said, hey, that's coming. It's going to be doled out in parts. We've talked about this in previous Devstream breakdowns. That stuff still on the way, definitely this year. Besides that, a difficulty rework. So this is incredibly hard to get right. Difficult, even. And basically they're going to be trying to introduce like some of the things that they maybe want to change with difficulty into Railjack and see how people feel about it before doing anything crazy. That's definitely a good way to go, because if they change difficulty in the game, like overall, to a place where people don't like it, that's not healthy for the game overall. So they're going to be trying some things with difficulty this year, and feedback's going to be real important. So don't be angry. Just give like good feedback about, hey, this sucks because this, and you should change it back probably if something bad happens. Just don't be angry at them for trying things, because they kind of need to. Anyway, besides that, new player experience. They are aiming to redo the start of the game, and that is what this image was earlier. This image, there's only really one thing I can think about whenever I look at this image, and that's that this looks like some fucking Dark Souls. This looks like some Dark Souls 2-ass Dark Souls 2. Like, a lot. I mean, they could go any direction with retooling the start of the game. Like, they could literally do just about anything, because it's the start of the game. It's like just like erase, like rip the first couple pages out of the book and add something else. Like, they can kind of go any direction with that, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what they do. This image is really interesting because there's kind of no imagery like this in Warframe at all as it stands currently, and I think it looks fucking cool. So can't wait for whatever that is. Unfortunately, this is like on the back of, hey, the free-to-play through starts this Sunday, for anyone who is wondering. But whatever, we'll have to do another free-to-play through next year whenever this new stuff's in. It's whatever. So that's cool. I can't wait to see what that ends up being. And then besides that, we know that they are going to change a bunch of Arcwing stuff. They're basically going to like rip out what needs to be ripped out and put in new stuff for it to work with Railjack more appropriately. And we know that there is going to be a big new Arcwing glaive. You will probably be able to throw this in Arcwing to great comedy effect, but it's not entirely set in stone that that is the case. I think it'd be really funny if you can throw this thing in space, because that don't make no sense if it comes back to you. Anyway, that's pretty much going to do it, besides one last thing, which is a note on Rivens coming into the game, more Rivens, which is that Arc Gun Rivens are going to come from arbitrations. So if you need those for some reason, probably start doing arbitrations now, as they will likely be expensive. And then the optional way to get companion Rivens, they're tooling around with a kind of conversion thing where you can convert certain Rivens into companion ones so that they don't clutter the Riven drop tables, because no one wants a Riven for their fucking Sentinel, because that shit's stupid and useless. Sorry to be so blunt, but that's just the way it is. But yeah, that is kind of the Devstream 122 breakdown. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And like I said, this Sunday, the free-to-play through is starting over on Twitch, so you should head over to the Twitch on Sunday and come check that out, because the free-to-play through is going to be starting. There will be a video tomorrow kind of going over more what the hell that means for those of you that are maybe newer to the channel. So look forward to that tomorrow, and I will see you guys then. Goodbye, everybody.